Today we're going to be making an advanced add-on in Blender. So to do this, we're going to be using the Hacker add-on from blendersensei.com. Okay, so we're going to be getting into some pretty advanced concepts here. If you're looking to just get started with add-on development and Python and coding in Blender, I recommend you check out the other video in this series called Hacker Add-on Creation. So let's go ahead and create a new add-on. So to do that, I'm going to click the Hacker Navigator button. And then I'm going to come up to the add-ons tab here. So to add a new add-on, we're going to click the plus sign. And so we need to give our add-on a name. You want to enter a proper cased name with like spacing, no underscores or all caps or anything like that. Just a regular name, the way you would want your add-on to be referenced in like a website article or something. We're going to go ahead and use the same example name that we did for the last one when we did the basic template. And we're going to call this Modeler Pro. All right, so let's press OK. And immediately we have created a new add-on, Modeler Pro. As with the other video, we can see where the add-on information has been filled in throughout the file. So like with the basic template, we can also just immediately press Run Script and we'll be able to see the output of the add-on. So this is really useful if you just want to get in there and do something to some operators or test something out, or you've got a rough sketch idea for an add-on, if you will. In addition to that, we're going to go ahead and go to Edit, Preferences, and under Add-ons, let's see, it should be popping up here. It's not. So if the add-on you just added isn't showing up yet in the add-ons, just go ahead and press Refresh, and there it is. So we can click it. And then it is now installed. It was already installed, but it's now activated. If we click open here, we can see our very simple little preferences menu here, which is one single property. All right, so let's take a look at the folder structure that was created when we created the add-on. So if we bring our mouse up here to the add-ons tab of the navigator, here you can see that the add-on itself was created and placed into the user settings add-ons location. And in here, which is the project tab of the navigator and displays all contents of whatever add-on happens to be the active add-on, Hacker is able to determine if any file open in the text editor belongs to an add-on. And no matter what file, whether it's the init file or whatever, will display all the contents of that add-on. So here we have the Modeler Pro, and what was created in the template was a folder that says code, and two files in there, one that says all, and one that says ops.py, and one that says init. Okay, so what makes this an advanced add-on, or why do I call it that? Well, number one, the basic add-on template in Hacker only produces a single folder with an init file as the add-on. So it's advanced in the sense that it uses multiple files. But really more than that, this is about having a dedicated structure to add-ons. And when we commit to this structure, we can end up developing add-ons at like really fast speeds. So to show you what I mean, let's just dive right into the basic code on the init file and we'll kind of work our way through it. Okay, so up top here we have the basic VL-info dictionary, more on that in the previous video. Starting here is the first change from the basic template. This single line replaces all of our imports on everything in this entire file, but it does more than that. So what's going on here? Well, we are importing contents from a file within Modeler Pro. So there's the Modeler Pro add-on, there's the code directory or folder, whatever you want. And then there is the all.py file. So we can see the structure of that right here. And then what we're saying is import everything. So in Python, the pound symbol is used for multiplication and various things, but it's also used to denote unpacking things. So basically it means, hey, go get everything and put it right here. So essentially, this line here is the same as if we were to open up the all file, copy all of its contents. Of course, I don't need to copy the comment, so I'll just press Control-C, go back here. And so this, which I'll comment out, is the same as if we pasted this here. It's not the same directly internally like how the code is arranged, But for all intents and purposes, for our logical understanding of what's happening, this is exactly what's happening. This is a tag for Python to understand, to go retrieve this stuff and read it line by line in the same way as if we just pasted it here. Only import functions have a really cool feature in Python in that once this stuff is read, whenever Python encounters the same import, it doesn't bother to go and read from all this junk again and paste it into its memory. It just points to where it already has it saved to memory. This is why if you ever make changes to a module and you want it to show up in your script, you have to resave it and then you have to reload it. You have to actually import something called, as you can see here, import lib, to get Python to actually go retrieve and overwrite the contents of the stuff that it read. So once this is read once here, it's never pulled from again, it's just pointed to. And because this is the case, what we can do is we can create one file where we import all our imports for every single file in the entire add-on and only ever have to worry about updating imports here and then use it on every single file. So notice that at the top of all our other files within the add-on, except for the actual all file, we're not even importing BPY anywhere. We're just importing the contents of this one file. So if I go here and under code, open up ops as well, you can see we do the same thing. So whenever we have imported and used a module, we never have to worry about importing it again. All right, so let's take a second to talk about the advantages and possibly disadvantages of this, when you would want to use a setup like this and when you wouldn't. So back on the all file, typically a setup like this would probably not be advised in a general Python module, but there's a big divide between what we're actually using add-ons for, how we're creating and using them, and standalone Python modules. So standalone Python modules are usually much larger in scope, oftentimes have multiple contributors, stuff like that, and the potential to accidentally overwrite something or create something confusing is much higher. So I think the scope where this makes awesome sense to do this like this is for add-ons, which it's very rare that you would ever create an add-on specifically with the intention of having someone else's add-on import something from your add-on. So this is not what we're doing. So what you could do is develop with this method, which allows you to not have to change things and not have to forget where you imported something or didn't. It also allows you to automatically begin coding. You don't have to import BPY. You don't have to import anything, especially if you're using Hacker, because the template system can automatically create new Py files that use whatever add-on is currently active, use that name and insert these lines in new pages. So you can just begin immediately coding. So it's super awesome for development. If you were afraid that at some point the scope of the add-on would get too large, you could, once you're past your development phase, you could just go for a traditional method of importing content. But this method is super awesome for getting things done. And there are a lot of other advantages we're going to get to in just a second. So handling imports is one function of the all.py file in the advanced template. The other purpose is to house functions that are globally accessible to every single file in your add-on. So for instance, if you just had a function that was like my cool function and it didn't take any parameters and all it did was print I am cool, you could access this from any of your other files within the add-on, just like this, and never have to think about it. I think this is really important because what I've seen in a lot of add-ons, what happens would be like you'll find these insanely long spaghetti string code inside of these operators. And why that's being done is because people don't want to bother with creating functions, and they usually don't want to bother with creating functions for multiple things to access because they have different Py files with operators on them that can't access them without complicated imports and things like that. So this actually encourages you to create unified functions that are usable by multiple operators, and then it leaves you free to just specialize on those functions and make them more dynamic and work for multiple operators. And like I said, this would not be ideal for a massive multi-contributor module with like hundreds of files or something like that. But for something of the scale, like a medium-sized to large-sized add-on, something between the scale of maybe like 5 to 10 pages worth of code, this is extremely useful for getting the idea from the brain to the machine. Okay, so in addition to these base imports, which is allow us to clean up our code, make things look much nicer, and then never have to worry about importing stuff on multiple pages, all.py file includes one built-in function which serves a really awesome purpose. So let's read what it does. Run a function belonging to all scripts in an add-on directory. We mostly use this to run the register function on all the op scripts within our code folder, but has other useful applications. And then it's just a list of what the parameters do. So func is the name of the function to look for within the scripts. Like I said, usually we're using this to register our ops pages, which I'll explain in a second. The add-on name, use the add-ons folder name. So basically, like in this example, that would be Modeler Pro, Modeler_Pro, which Hacker formatted for us when we entered in the regular name. And then the directory, which is the folder containing the desired scripts. So the folder within your add-on that you want all of that particular function to run within those scripts. If we open the navigator and take a look back in here, what this will do is run through all of the files within our code folder here and register all the scripts which contain register functions. So then the idea here is you can create as many .py files that you want to be registered with Blender and then group them together in meaningful ways. And so as you're developing and you create more and more operators, you can move things around, you can change the names of these .py files, delete files, add files, and it will never ever break your code. Your init file will never be confused based on what's imported or not imported. This is really awesome in terms of organization because we could change this from ops.py to mycoolmeshoperators.py. We could add one for curves, for any category of stuff where we start collecting a bunch of operators that surround that one task. So for example, with our little example add-on here, so I've got a couple of buttons for creating, you made a smooth torus, creating various shapes that are also smooth. And so I have another button here for creating a sphere. But say I wanted to start working on a category of specific mesh tools, I could do that. So we could create a new file here. I'll just press this plus button and pick a name. We'll call it, I could call it mesh ops. We'll just call it mesh, that's fine. And this is going to be a new .py file. So if I pressed OK right now, it would just enter a blank file into that location. Or we can create a file based on a template, which we can edit and create as many templates as we want. But we're just going to use the add-on ops advanced template ops page. And then we'll press OK. And notice that the add-on name is automatically substituted here for working with this template style. And we don't have to import anything. We don't have to inform our init file to worry about which thing is to be loaded and how to get to it and all that. This is completely ready to go. So this is just the generic default operator that shows on the ops template file. So let's switch it up a bit. I'm going to call this, let's make a new tool. Let's make a thing that merges stuff with one press. Okay, so we'll call it merger. And so we want this here. We want this in the part of the BLID name. And we'll change this to merger. And we'll go ahead and copy this class name and make sure it's down here in the classes. Let's get rid of all this stuff. And we do not need this option because that's not relevant for this. If you're interested in that, be sure to check out the Hacker add-on creation video, more about operator properties and stuff like that. So we want to create a new button that merges these. Merges in what way? So let's figure out what we want done. Let's, under modifiers, under add modifier, we can probably use the Boolean, and we want, what did we add the Boolean? We added the Boolean modifier here. So we want the object to be this, And let's apply this and see if it does what we want. And are these now? No, they're not. Oh, you know what I didn't do? I did not set it to union. Okay, so that's what we want to happen by the end of it. So let's get a hold of that modifier by switching our Python console to the info editor, and we add a modifier add, Control C to get a hold of that. We had a modifier apply, Control C for that, or I could just press insert. What happened there? Oh no, I guess I had clicked on the wrong thing. Let's see. There we go. Okay, so we've got to add the Boolean. We got to do this. We also have to be able to set the object that the modifier will be used with. So I'll delete those and we'll create a new set real quick. And so we're going to have to figure out how, once we've added a Boolean modifier to the active object, how do we tell it which object? We put our mouse over here, there's nothing, so let's activate tooltips, which is just a quick convenience button there in the hacker workspace. And this is modifiers boolean.object. All right, so we'll then just have to access the modifier once it's been added here. So let's have ob equals context.object and ob.modifiers boolean. And obviously there's a lot cleaner ways we could do this, make sure it's more dynamic and make sure that it works better, but this is just for example purposes. So object equals, and we're gonna have to get the object out of the items that are selected. So this won't be a very complicated operator. This is just going to work on two things that are selected for the purposes of this little demo. So to get that, we need selected. So here's what we'll do. We'll say for obj in BPY. No. We want context dot selected objects. We'll move this in here. If obj not equal ob, then set that to obj. I can't remember if this wants the name or the actual object or not, but we'll find out in a minute. So that should add a Boolean modifier, and it should set the object to whatever we have selected in a set like this, and then unite them. So that should be good. So let's save this, run the script, and we're going to have to put this in our user interface somewhere. So let's find where this is. So this is make torus. So let's type in our search. That got us there quick. Love that hacker search. So we want to add probably a new column. So, or no, we'll let that separator be there. And we'll say col dot operator, and then what is this? It is this. Here we go. And did we give it a name? Did we bother to name it stuff? Okay. We might have to come up with a cool icon for it too. So let's just test this out. We got merger. That's stupid. It should just say merge. It should just say merge. Run script there. Or there we go. Yeah, sometimes the drawl on that doesn't update right away. Okay, so let's see if this works, or if we're gonna have problems. Let's press merge. Hey, it worked. All right, neat. So yeah, this isn't super fancy. It doesn't handle probably multiple objects, etc. But we just made a thing, and that's cool. And then so you could start working from there. And the whole point of this is really to say that we added a page to our add-on and we created a system of organization without having to update any imports, without having to go back and change a bunch of things, without having to re-import stuff or make sure we do it on the new page, not even BPY, which that's sick, that's awesome. So here's something else awesome. I could literally change the name of any of these, excluding the all file. Say I had some reason to, and I don't have to update anything in the code. So we can press this button here, which will always open your computer's native file browser for that folder here in the Hacker Navigator. Open that up. I could change this from mesh to pizza time, and it doesn't matter, and my add-on won't care, and it won't break the code. We will have to run this script again, so let's right-click, run script, and here is our console, just giving us info about stuff we did. Let's go ahead and clear it out so we can see if we get any issues when we try to use this tool again. It doesn't look like it because it's already registering that it exists there. So I could Shift A, add, let's see, not metaball. This is just for mesh objects because it uses that mesh modifier. No, not another cube, or maybe a cube. I'm not used to default Blender hotkeys, as you can tell. And hopefully that encourages some people regarding what's going on. So Shift A. No, I already have torches. Let's make a monkey. Okay, Shift D and this select. No. Let's merge these things. Hey, they're merged. All right. They're not merged. What happened? There's no errors appeared. Okay, no, these never merged. Now, it did set the proper object, which is good. That got us halfway there. But if we come here, this is no longer, this file doesn't exist, which is why we're getting this red conflict thing, because we changed it to pizza time. So let's close that out. And let's open up the new pizza time. And okay, no, I never applied it. I just set the operation to union, but I never added the code to actually apply the modifier, so my bad. So what is that? Let's click here and apply. It's object modifier apply, simple enough. Control C will let me copy it that time. It did. I want to say you have to, yeah, you have to tell the modifier. I think it's, you have to use the name of the modifier. Yeah, it's a name because it's a string. So we have to use the name of the modifier, which should just be Boolean because we know its name because we just created it. Unless there was another Boolean modifier already on there, in which case there'd be trouble. And I would code for that provision if this were a real thing we're doing here. But it's just an example. So let's run this script. And let's delete everything. Try again with some UV spheres. And let's see, Shift D. And let's try this again. Merge. Whoa, some upsetness happened. Why are you upset? Error, expected a string enum in. Oh, when I told it the name was Boolean, I didn't tell it that it's supposed to be, as you can see here, it wants this to say modifier equals Boolean. That's why it was mad at me. Let's see, run script, delete this mess, Shift A, make a thing, make a thing. Why does it say merger again? Did I not save it when I changed the name? I think that's what happened. Merged. Run script, save this time. There we go. Now we have another problem. Keyword modifier unrecognized. What are you talking about, modifier unrecognized? Oh, did I spell it wrong? Well, how about this? We'll just enter it in verbatim. Delete that bit we don't need. Now how are they going to argue? They're not. All right, run script. Delete all this again, fresh example. Shift D. Behave. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Did I add 3 objects? What happened here? Did it create a new object? Why would it do that? Let's try to merge these two. Yeah, it's making a new object each time. Why? That's weird. Dude, why are you making a new object? Let's see. Okay, let's clear this out. See if there's any errors popping up in the console. Some different shapes. Merge. No, it's doing it here. We're not getting any issues. Okay, so modifier add. ob.modifiers equals thing. Correct, right? That's good. If the object in selected is not the active object, then do this. Modifiers operation union, modifier apply. And there doesn't seem to be, I thought maybe there might be some new parameter in modifier apply where it was like, do you want to make another object out of it? So that's weird. Not sure what's going on there. Okay, let's see if that's what happens by default. So we'll just take these 2 objects, we'll follow the chain of things and see if that happens. So in the code we are, so this is the active object here, so we are adding a Boolean modifier. We are selecting the non-active thing as the thing to be the thing. We are clicking union, and we are applying. Okay, so that's the normal behavior. For some reason I hadn't realized that, I guess. I don't know if that behavior changed since the last time I used that tool. Not sure, but apparently that's default behavior. So what we could do if we wanted to get rid of the original object, which I'm not sure if this is, I think it's the original object, so we would just delete, I suppose, the original object. Modifier equals Boolean, back to how that was. And so we would want to deselect everything except the original object. So we could do for obj in context dot selected. We want to deselect everything but ob, so if obj not equal ob, then obj dot, let's see, ob dot, we have to select set, that's the thing. Select set false, but we want this for obj and not ob. And then we want to delete. So ops, no, let's see, bpy.ops.object.delete, good old-fashioned delete. Now I want to say the delete brings up the menu, so I might have to write some more code. Let's see. Hopefully not. Let's run script. Let's add some shapes. And let's press merge. And it's mad. Modify. Okay, I did it again. I spelled modifier wrong again. Okay, let's run script. Let's open this up, clear this out so we can actually know what's going on. Let's delete everything. Shift A, mesh. So as you can see, actually creating operators takes some time. However, the structure of your code and organizing it should not have to take time. All right, merge. That's not good. And we left something behind. Okay, I guess we want everything but the original object selected. So if obj, okay, wait, what was I saying here? If obj not equal ob, obj select set false. So deselect everything. Okay, we want the opposite of that. We want just ob to be not selected. That's what we want. We just want to deselect the main object because I guess that's what the Boolean was applied to. Yeah, that makes sense. All right, run script. Select everything, delete, Shift A. And okay, make sure I ran that script. Clear that out so I'm not confused if this spews a bunch of anger at me. Merge. Yay, we did it! We did it, folks! Look at that. They're one weird thing. And let's add a subsurf modifier to that. And shade smooth. Because it's really important. Merge. All right, look at them. Look at them lines. And now I'm just start thinking like, oh, what are some more modifiers we could add to clean this up and make an even super duper cooler thing? All right, I'm gonna clear that up, close that out. So I hope you're starting to see some of the advantages of this advanced template and how it can make your life really easy, how it can increase the speed of development when you don't have to worry about re-importing a lot of the same common stuff. I did want to cover one quick thing here, which wasn't really covered in the previous hacker add-on creation video. And that is a pretty important concept to making add-ons in general. And that is the various ways of which you can create object properties. And by object, I mean like class object. I mean how you can attach properties to things like the window manager, the scene, or the preferences of your add-on. Attaching these properties to different things allows you to do different stuff, so this is kind of like mentioned here in the layout section of our init file of our add-on. There's properties, menus, most of this stuff we covered in the previous video. But okay, so the situation here is screen properties. So basically, the screen is like a workspace. Each workspace that you switch to, Blender thinks of that as a screen. So screen properties can be changed per workspace and saved with the file when you do file, save startup file. So this would be cool if you had an add-on that, you know, changes something in the user interface or does something, you need it to be remembered for just that workspace. So notice when we change this to this, and then we go back to like the default Blender layout, notice that under Modeler Pro, this value is still 0. So these values are respected per workspace and they can be saved with a startup file, which is really useful for user interface style things. Then you have scene properties, and this is just informing you, hey, I will save with the file. So if someone were to save this file, save, this would show up because it is a property attached to a scene. And this is an add-on preference property, which we went over in great detail in the previous video on add-on creation. This saves with your add-on preferences. So edit preferences, which are displayed here if you choose to display them in your preferences class in the draw function as is done here. All right, so how do we make these and what are these? Well, here we can see what they look like, the code side of things. And we have BPY data.scenes. Scene is the specific scene, but we generally refer to that, the active one, as bpy.context.scene. That's how you'll see it a lot of times in code. And so you notice that the name of the add-on actually comes after the thing where the property is stored. Well, not in that situation, but in like window manager, it's like window manager.modelerpro and screen.modelerpro. And that's because in the advanced template, we have property groups set up properly property groups. And these are really useful for, one, keeping your code organized, two, for not spamming Blender's object types and classes with your junk. So for instance, down here, if I type in bpy.context.windowmanager, we could just have a bunch of like modeler pro and then my property thing. And then if we did this and then a bunch of other add-on makers did this and we had a bunch of add-ons installed, then this would just be littered with junk that was not default Blender stuff, and it would make it difficult to code and sluggish, and it would suck. But instead we have property groups set up so that it looks like this. We have a header more or less for our add-on, and then all of our specific properties and things that are related to that property type show up there. Close that back down. So there's a good long explanation here in the advanced template about how these work, how to use them. But the short version of the story is you can just copy and paste these properties, create new ones for window manager things, screen things, and scene properties, and add them and use them throughout your code. You don't have to understand really how this works, is what I'm saying. You can read and learn about all this, but you'll be able to establish these properties that have these really important kind of features, like I said. Okay, so I think that's going to about do it for this video. If you're interested in checking out Hacker, please visit blendersensei.com/hacker to learn more about that. If you are in Hacker and you want to export your add-on, which of course in Hacker you can create, edit, and export an add-on without ever opening a single file browser, except for when you click this button to export the add-on, you'll have to choose a location where you want it to export to. You don't have to name it or anything like that. Just press the button. And when we head over to the desktop, there it is, ready to go, ready for someone else to install, use, and enjoy. So thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next video.